Welcome one and all to another day, another morning, another week here at The Damage Report. Normally, Mondays are the territory, the sovereign territory of Francesca Fiorentini, but she will be here Friday. Don't worry, we have a special treat. I just talked to him on the last episode. When do you get back-to-back Bretts, huh? Well, we've got one for you, and it's Brett Erlich. Brett, how's it going?
What up, everybody? I feel so good to be here. We are everybody. Yes, that was a reference to Drive Shaft's hit from the show Lost. Anyways, John, how are you today?
I'm good. I want to thank you, first of all, for filling in on short notice. It is much appreciated. Thank you for being such a good bud.
Today is nothing but short notice. This was the longest notice of the host shuffling for today, including this morning when I was having some issues and I found out Jank's not gonna be on main show because he's got some stuff to do. And
so I did not know about that.
We're shuffling around. I still don't know what's happening, but it's gonna be great, John. I'm just happy to be here with one of my best buds in the uni.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad to have you here. I'm glad that we have a show since apparently others might not. It's chaos in the network, but anyway, it's also chaos all over the place because the news is ridiculous, and we're gonna be getting to all sorts of stories. Should there be a constitution, or should we just get rid of it? Interesting little tidbits. We're gonna see what we can learn from the Hunter Biden Twitter expose. Spoiler alert, nothing. We're gonna be talking about Nazis just openly protesting. They're feeling emboldened. And Michael Shore spoke to more prospective Herschel Walker voters on the eve of this Senate runoff, which we'll be covering live, I will remind you. So very important news there, and just all around crazy news. Has the protest in Iran led to a major concession, or is it a fake concession? We'll be debating that and a whole bunch more besides. We'll also be diving into a food fight, which happens too rarely. It was a story pitched by Brett over the weekend. We're gonna give it to you. And so in advance of that, two things. First of all, what I always say, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, sharing the stream so that people know we're live, that would be great. And you can send us comments, tweets, and super chats and all that. And we'll respond as we go. But before we jump into the show, I do wanna say one thing that I hope that we've always been clear about here at the Damage Report and generally across the network is that we, unlike many in the media, are not for some reason terrified to admit when we've gotten something wrong or made a mistake. And we care about the facts and we care about reality. I say that all of the time, all over the place. So I want to clarify a mistake that I made, I think on Thursday's show last week, it might've been Wednesday. So we were covering a story about Herschel Walker. 5 of his exes had come forward to talk about their experience. And the story was about domestic violence and threats of domestic violence and multiple personalities, a whole bunch of things like that. And in covering that story, I mentioned one of those relationships. And I read out of the corner of my eye a note I'd made to myself saying that the relationship had started slightly after Herschel Walker's divorce. But what I said was slightly before. That's a big difference actually, because one is just a ordering of events. The other is an invalid accusation of an affair. And so that is not true. That isn't what actually happened. And so if I left you with that impression, I was 100% wrong in that. And it's important that you know the facts going forward. There are many things to have an issue with Herschel Walker on. An affair that didn't actually happen is certainly not one of them. So apologies for that. And I'm gonna try to do better going forward.
I've already filed a lawsuit, John, so it's too late. Money in my pocket.
I was really trying to avoid the Brett Erlich lawsuit. I'm not sure about your standing, but I also don't really know much about what that means. So
I'm sitting, you idiot.
Anyway. Yes. My God, we would make such terrible lawyers. But anyway, yes, just wanted to give you that clarification. I goofed it, and it matters. You know, people watch this, people come away from this with an understanding of the news, ideally. I want it to be an accurate understanding. So apologies for misinforming you. Okay, with that, Brett, you ready to talk about some news?
Yes, I would like to point out that the one mistake John has ever made is just one single word.
But it matters, it matters. That's a very, which word that is really does matter. So anyway, that was me accidentally misinforming, thank you. I want to turn now to someone who is constantly intentionally misinforming, although that's the least of our issues right now. Every Monday, we take a look at those who were a true menace throughout the weekend and present to you our Monday Menace. And here it is. If you can count on Donald Trump for one thing, it's taking whatever is in the news and making it a justification for him to somehow magically become president. And the Twitter Hunter Biden expose was no exception. Here is how he attempted to spin whatever he thinks was revealed there. He bleated, "So with the revelation of massive and widespread fraud and deception and working closely with big tech companies, the DNC and the Democrat Party, do you throw the presidential election results of 2020 out and declare the rightful winner? Or do you have a new election? A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections." So first off, I would like to add a third possible option to the throw out the results or have a new election. How about do absolutely nothing and just continue on with our lives? I think that's the one that we're gonna go with. But there he is saying, because of this massive fraud that Twitter didn't send out non-consensual dick pics of Hunter Biden, then the 2020 election isn't valid, and all rules and regulations need to be dispensed of, including articles, even poorly written ones, and also the Constitution. It's just done. And look, it's a Trump statement, so I don't know exactly what he means by this. I don't know if he's even still thinking about this. Is this an indication of his approach to the Constitution going forward? Is this an offhand comment? Was he on like uppers? I don't know, but it is concerning, not just that you have a guy who used to be the president, who's supposed to be the great defender of the Constitution, claiming that if he has an issue with it, he can single-handedly cancel it. That would be one thing, that would be concerning, but he is an already declared candidate to be president again. So it seems like it probably matters. Brett, what do you think?
This is so stupid.
That's the perfect response to literally every first story coming out of the weekend.
For so many reasons. A, there's nothing in the Constitution about this. That is false. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say anything remotely close to this. The Constitution says stuff about like certifying electors, setting up the electoral college. It does say let's leave it to the states to have those kinds of things happen. Now, the other reason this is so stupid is because this is what Fox News does every day. You're saying big tech and big media are different? How? Because Fox News 100% without a doubt is fed stories by the Republicans, colludes with the Republicans every minute of every single day to influence via the largest media apparatus in the United States, the #1 news network in the country. To collude, to pick stories, lie to people, have their agenda, have things suppressed. It happens all the time, man.
Brett,
he's not crying about it.
You're 100% right, and I definitely want to get into that a little bit later on the show. We're gonna dive all into the Twitter stuff. For now, though, I assume when you say this is so stupid, I assume you mean the idea that he can cancel the Constitution, the idea that this is really saying much about his approach. I mean, I assume, and maybe I'm being too generous here, that he has exactly as little respect for the Constitution today as he did a week ago, as he did a year ago. And this probably doesn't indicate much of a big change in approach. But what do you think about what Trump is actually saying here and what he might do as president?
Well, I say that because it says allows for the termination of all rules. It's like, no, it doesn't allow for the termination of any rules. There's an A, list them. List them. Like you don't know what they are. They say, see who benefits and that's who's at fault. This is only stuff that he has been doing in the past and will continue to do in the future. I mean, I get the approach. He's trying to double, triple, quadruple down on the thing that got him here. But I need to look no further than Jordan Peterson, my personal thought leader and guru, who said that this is off-brand for Trump. He is a winner is his brand, and he keeps complaining about losing to losers. The people he called losers have beaten him.
Yeah.
And so it's just now, if the remaining people who didn't check out because he's so pathetic will continue to check out. And he's so stupid. Our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent election. Why is founders in quotation marks? It's just that same stuff. It's exactly what I didn't miss about Trump tweets. It's like, it's just dust and mud and murk that he kicks up in an attempt to confuse you. And then hopefully through the raw display of what he perceives and his fans to perceive as power, can just push you back and get what he wants.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you're right that this is very much a throwback to what he's normally like. One of the reasons I want to make sure that we talked about this is now that he is a candidate, now that there is in theory going to be an alternative to him, I'm just curious how this sort of stuff plays. We actually have a little bit of updated information about that. Really fast though, the Deputy Press Secretary for the White House, Andrew Bates, put out a statement saying that attacking the Constitution and all it stands for is anathema to the soul of our nation. Totally reasonable.
To which Trump said, "God bless you." Anathema, God bless you. What? It's not a word, right? I don't know what that means.
He definitely doesn't know what it means. I want to turn now to something that maybe is more concerning because again, we know who Donald Trump is. When did Donald Trump change last? Like when was he a different person than he was the day before? He's gonna be what he's gonna be. And by the way, in terms of his approach to the Constitution, whether it matters and everything, like need you like be reminded that in the run up to the inauguration, he would have overthrown it if more people had played ball, or he would have tried to whatever extent he can. Like he is a constant, not a variable. The variables around him, like who is the head of the military, who is his VP, those are interesting questions. And so I'm more worried about how others respond to this than how Trump does. So let's turn now to that. Actually, why don't we play this video of Representative David Joyce, the chair of the Republican Governance Group.
Can you support a candidate in 2024 who's for suspending the Constitution?
Well, again, it's early. I think there's going to be a lot of people in the primary. I think at the end of the day, you will say whoever the Republicans end up pick, I'll fall in behind because that's
even if it's Donald Trump and he's called for suspending the Constitution.
Well, again, I think it's going to be a big field.
So there were a lot of words said there by Representative David Joyce, but the words I heard were not including, no, I'm not gonna support the guy who a couple years before the election is already talking about how if he gets in a mood, he can cancel the Constitution. It's a very easy response to give, one would think, difficult for Representative David Joyce. And George Stephanopoulos actually pressed him on that here.
I don't think Donald Trump's going to clear out the field like he did in 2016.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking you if he's the nominee, will you support him?
I will support whoever the Republican nominee is. And I just don't think that at this point he'll be able to get there because I think there's a lot of other good quality candidates out there.
That's a remarkable statement. You'd support a candidate who's come out for suspending the Constitution?
Well, he says a lot of things. You have to take him in context. And right now, I have to worry about making sure as a Republican governance group and a Republican majority that we make things work for American people. And I can't be really chasing every one of these crazy statements that come out from any of these candidates.
Okay, that would be convenient. The idea that it's an inconvenience for you to have to chase his statements. We're not expecting you to chase his statements. You can actually stay seated exactly where you are. We will bring a really concerning one to you, and then you have to reveal who you are. And I believe that he did, Brad.
You ever have someone who brings their dog over to your house and it won't stop barking and maybe it pees once someplace? And then you try to bring it up to the person and they're like, "What do you want me to say? It's my dog."
Yep,
but instead of a dog, it's a Wolverine that has rabies, and the house is a china shop, and he's like, essentially, I mean, this guy's essentially saying, "Don't make me say it, George."
Yeah,
please. Well, and also, we've been through all of this before. Every single bit of this, we have been through before. I can't say I'm not gonna support the nominee. We all know I don't want to support the nominee. We all know I didn't want to support Trump before. And people in that category include like Lindsey Graham, who said he is a terrible person multiple times on TV. And the stronger words we heard than that were from McConnell a few days ago when he said, when you go and have dinner with Nazis, that's not the kind of person that will be elected, that will ever and should ever be elected president of the United States. But they all know the game they're playing. They all know, as much as they accuse us of living in 1984, when we tell people, no, here's the words we actually want you to use and we want them to be accurate. They're the ones who can't say the thing they want to say. They're double talking out their butthole.
Yeah, not doing a good enough job of it that we don't come away with a very clear understanding of what he would accept. And George Stephanopoulos, I think, did a good job of not only asking the follow-up question, but stating clearly, here is what you're saying. What you're saying is a candidate saying that they can choose to cancel the Constitution will not stop you from supporting them. And that is true. He will still support that guy. And by the way, it's not even like he's laying out like, well, sure, I'll support this, but one step further and I'll stop. No, he said, I will support whoever the candidate is. So now you get to fill in your mind, dear viewer, how far can we take this thing? How crazy can we get? What could Donald Trump say that they could bring David Joyce back on George Stephanopoulos' show to say, well, yeah, whatever. I mean, I'm not gonna support Biden, so yeah, whatever. If he says he's gonna murder my family, then I'm still gonna support him. He says whatever, it doesn't matter. That he's perfectly happy with that, and that is far more worrisome. It's not that Donald Trump wants to do this. Donald Trump has no bounds. He will do whatever he is allowed to do in every single situation. That is a constant. It's been true for literally decades. The better question is, what will the context be? What will the bounds and the limits be, if anything? And he is presenting to us that they will be nothing. They're still too terrified of this guy to just say, I'm gonna vote for DeSantis, or to just say, he's gonna say whatever he's gonna say, and he's gone down a path I can't follow, and so I got a lot of stuff that I'm gonna be doing in the run up to the 2024 election. I'll probably be supporting other candidates. Just saying that you back off. I know he's not gonna stump for Biden. I get that, but he's saying he will support the candidate, whoever it is, no matter who they are, no matter what they do.
And the decision in the politics of the moment from people like Stephanopoulos, who used to work for Clinton and is obviously like a holdover, but definitely is like a former Democratic operative, and everyone else, is to figure out how you're gonna play this in the moment. It benefits you for your enemies to be infighting. So the question is, what do you wanna do? You're probably gonna just kind of hang back and try to message your most popular message at people who are overwhelmed by this, because when you go negative, which is what's about to go intense, go overboard in the Republican Party, you polarize, you shrink your electorate. People are just like, I'm out, this is too nasty for me. What the Democrats will probably do is swoop in with a positive message of the things that poll well. And if they don't do that, they're stupid. What they might also do is calculate what's gonna benefit them the most. Is it to kind of message and let Trump get away with it, and let people discover on their own how terrible he is without alienating the people who love how terrible he is? That's kind of like the dance that they're gonna be doing for a minute.
Well, I can't say that what we're about to transition to is like directly consequences of this, but bearing in mind that Donald Trump has been on a bit of a tear, making sure that everyone remembers who he is. Like, we've had this period where we've had a little bit of a distance between us and Donald Trump, and maybe some people have forgotten how ridiculous it is, or been distracted by how terrible other Republicans are. They're activists, libs of TikTok, they're Marjorie Greene, all of that. He's been reminding us of who he is, and let's see what effect that's having. Polls this far out from the 2024 race, probably fairly worthless, but it's what we've got right now, and I'm interested to see how this dynamic is gonna play out. Here's some bad news for Donald Trump. Former President Trump's unfavorable rating has reached 67% among registered voters, which is higher than 50. 1/3 of Republicans and GOP-leaning voters now view him negatively, according to a Marquette Law School national poll. Also, again, bearing in mind, this is a long way out from a primary. Governor Ron DeSantis leads him by 20 points in a head-to-head Republican matchup. So a nice little advantage. That's not just a one state thing, which is of course how these primaries are run, but as a national picture, Ron DeSantis is doing better as of right now. What's interesting is once you dive into different aspects of the Republican base, this gets fascinating. So DeSantis led Trump among Republican voters who didn't attend college, which has generally been part of Trump's core MAGA base. But among GOP college grads, the difference in support is huge. Trump's favorability is underwater with college-educated Republicans, 48-50, favorable, unfavorable, while DeSantis is 89. So if you are a Republican who went to college and probably since then has pretended that you haven't because it's a den of iniquity and liberalism or whatever, there is almost no chance at this point that you're choosing Trump over DeSantis. And Trump is narrowly losing even amongst others not in that group. So that's pretty fascinating. I didn't expect that the college split would be so significant, Brett.
I would. It's not, yeah,
89?
It's tough to see anything 80 to 9. No, I get it. I knew it would be significant. That's probably what you're saying. That seems like what you're saying. But good Lord, this is fantastic. And this, people answer poll. This is me talking. This is not anything I can point to, but it's my gut always when looking at polls that people know they're getting polled and they're trying to send a message every time they're polled, especially as it gets closer to an election, especially if they're asked about the other party. And especially if they're mad at one thing, they're going to emphatically, when they want change, signal for another. But if the poll is like Trump last time going into a Hillary Clinton thing, people, even if they don't like Trump, they hate Hillary and they're gonna go real hard for Trump. So they'll be overrepresented as pro-Trump in those days. In these days, a lot of people are like, I am done with him. I want out. The huge surprise here is not to me the lopsidedness, just like generally the lopsidedness of the college educated poll. It's the non-college educated polls. That is weird to me. But always remember this. DeSantis is in Florida, which is a big state. New York has a lot of establishment Republicans. That's a big state. There are going to be big states that go for DeSantis in a primary matchup, and smaller states will go for Trump. He will need to hold pretty much all of the smaller states on the way there. And if there are cracks in his ability to hold smaller states, then when the delegate count starts going, you're gonna see just potentially an even more lopsided loss than you would have if you just ran a poll. It's gonna be really.
I was gonna say maybe hyenas start to smell blood and jump on Trump. If it begins to really look like DeSantis might take this, then maybe you'll see more defections. But it's also consequential, as we've continually reminded people. In this poll, Biden ties DeSantis 42-42, but beats Trump by 10 points. Yeah, and again, it's years out. That can change. DeSantis is not a moderate, and we will do all that we can to make sure that everyone knows that. Hopefully the media will as well, but that's where it stands right now. By the way, I only mention this just on the off chance that Trump sees this and he'll feel bad. There's a poll right now of Utah where DeSantis is in first and Liz Cheney is in second over Trump. She's got him by like 1.5 points. So we'll see.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna really fast say, I think the breakdown, I think the college educated Republicans just want their tax cuts and they know that they can get that just as easily with DeSantis as the others. I think that the non-college educated MAGA people are more actively focused on all of the different narrative culture war scams that are being run on them. But I think that they also are starting to get that DeSantis is gonna give them those too. Like they don't need Trump to get the hatred of the LGBTQ community and all of that. So he's got to figure out something to appeal to differentiate himself from DeSantis.
The messaging from the Republican Party now is twofold. You'll see a lot of weird polling organizations you have never heard from before say that DeSantis is up by 10 bajillion. There was one by like, what was it? Like American for Progress Action, which is like a big right-wing think tank establishment media arm, dropped the first poll that was like, DeSantis is crushing Trump. They are trying to push him out really fast, knowing that he was going to declare his candidacy, trying to get him to delay. But Trump went in and is like, I'm all in. Ben Shapiro said it. He thinks that Trump wouldn't go all in this early with a pair of aces. He probably has a pair of sixes. He's trying to buy the pot. I don't know if that's true, but I do know that in the meantime, DeSantis is saying the road ahead of me politically is very long. And if I jump in with Trump, it is dark and full of terrors. And so I'm not going to make any moves until I am certain I can win. I'm not looking to Biden. I'm not looking to Trump. I'm looking to Newsom in my matchup calculus for the future. And those two are fighting against each other to see what happens. Newsom is like, they're both like, let me at him, Dad. And that's what's happening in the meantime. And the best people can hope for on the Democratic side is that it bloodies both DeSantis and Trump up so much that you can define him. But the danger is that it might define DeSantis as this white knight savior. And you're already hearing people like Bill Maher take that bait.
Yeah, well, he's an idiot. Yeah, I don't know that DeSantis can win a long drawn out primary and come out of it looking like a saint, because you can't present to the MAGA base sainthood and get them to they want a demon. So I could be wrong. I think also what would really fast, what would be best for the country but worst for us in the news in terms of it being interesting is if DeSantis just waits, just does it in 4 years or whatever.
As we saw, as I played yesterday on Friday, just like you'll hear, you've already heard Pence, what's her name, Laura Ingraham, and you've heard Lauren Boebert, even a Trump loyalist, someone who has been bloodied by the fallout of Trump picking them and them having to be so horrible. They all have said DeSantis has the same policies as Trump, or we need someone with the same policies as Trump who's not Trump. That is a very obvious move from them.
Yeah, 100%. Well, we will be tracking it. I'm sure between now and the election, we'll talk about it at least once more every day. Okay, we're gonna take a short break. We come back, lots more news to get to. Don't go anywhere. Maria Hall says, don't do it, John. What if removing your beard is like the Samson and Delilah effect and you lose your power? What if the beard is the only thing keeping you off the lefty Twitter ban list? 100%. Okay, we'll see. Okay, with that.
I disagree with him, but I like his face.
I think that's what's going on. Okay, let's jump into other news. Just a few days ago, Elon Musk announced that they were gonna be doing the expose on Twitter of the Hunter Biden emails at last. And over the course of what felt like 13 years, Matt Taibbi released his findings very slowly, one tweet at a time, as if you couldn't write all of them and then release them periodically. And so if you've been watching the show for a long time, you know that this is the part of the show where now in this story, I will go into the individual emails and read them, and I'm not gonna do that. I'm just not gonna do that. This is not an actual story. What they found was the definition of weak sauce, okay? This is a PR move by the richest man in the world to ingratiate himself to the right wing, knowing he's got nothing on the Hunter Biden thing. Matt Taibbi's incentives in this are fairly clear. I don't think they need to be restated. He did admit in his initial announcement that he had to agree to certain conditions with the platform holder and richest man in the world, but he didn't feel the need to actually list what those were, which is suspicious. I'll let him deal with the ethical ramifications of that. When it comes to what they actually found though, I'm not gonna show you the graphics. I can sum it up. There was talk about whether to allow certain stories to be spread, including the non-consensual spreading of nude photographs of at that point, former VP's adult son. If you believe that that's newsworthy, Okay, you're allowed to have your opinion or whatever. The only part of this that I care enough about to actually show you a graphic that we had our graphics team make is this. From Elon Musk, after it all came out, he says, if this isn't a violation of the Constitution's First Amendment, what is? And he should have sent that message in the normal formulation. If this isn't a violation of the Constitution's First Amendment, then I don't know what is, because that would have at least been accurate. He doesn't know what is. This, by definition, is not a violation of the First Amendment, because Joe Biden, even if he reached out to Twitter and asked them to not spread these nude photos, wasn't serving in government. It was not government power infringing on people's free speech. It was a private citizen making appeal to a private company. And you'll notice, by the way, Matt Taibbi at least has the decency to mention that those exact same sorts of requests were coming from Donald Trump's team, and Twitter was acquiescing to them. He's not interested enough to actually go into the details, but he briefly mentions that. That is actually the government putting pressure on a social media company, but that isn't worth looking into. It's only worth looking into a private citizen's appeal to not have his son, who is in recovery, have effectively like revenge porn published of him. And so that's the expose. Great work, Elon Musk and Matt Taibbi.
Also, nothing I've seen from the Hunter Biden leaks has done anything but make Hunter Biden look super fun.
Yes.
And
and Joe Biden looked like a good dad.
Like a dad who's like, I don't know what to do. My kid has some problems.
Yeah.
It is, and it boggles the mind. Everyone, like everybody who is upset about all of this is wildly tribal. The people being like, oh, Elon Musk, nail it, hand it to him. What?
Yep. Yeah.
Matt Taibbi nailed it. Gotta hand it to Matt Taibbi. What? Angry at Matt Taibbi. What? Yeah. Like Matt Taibbi is who he is. He's a pick-me journalist. He's like, I want to be part of it. At this point, I want to be contrarian. Always was. And there's plenty of journalists out there who've written really, really awesome stuff. And then just like someone who knows they just got famous, they get all nervous and they don't know what to do. And it goes to their head a little bit. That's where Matt Taibbi is.
Yeah.
This is, and people are denying that this is a PR move from Musk. Buying Twitter was a PR move from Musk. And then it went poorly, so he needed another PR move so that he could solidify his position and change the conversation. That is so obvious. To deny that is to deny reality. And then to deny all these people, at least get your argument right. Your argument is that we don't need billionaires to run media companies. I hate to break it to you, they're giant media companies. By the end of the day, they're gonna be billionaires. But like billionaires are not going to free you from this. Like Elon Musk is a billionaire.
Now. They want one. They don't want to be freed. They want their own billionaires to own the platforms. So we don't. They're playing a game. We don't need to play the game. That's what their approach to free speech is.
And I got no problem with Elon Musk saying what he wants to have on his company's website and what he doesn't want to have on his company's website. But he's gonna have to put up with a lot of people like me calling out how hilariously hypocritical every single one of his moves is, and how sadly like deriding all of his followers are.
Yeah. 100%. And and by the way, again, to the bias, he tweeted, Twitter acting by itself to suppress free speech. Again, it's not suppressing free speech. By definition, stop saying that, please. Google the terms, is not a First Amendment violation, but acting under orders from the government to suppress free speech with no judicial review is. Again, Biden wasn't in the government. Your guy was. Trump was the part of this story that you're not remotely interested in. And again, you can't even say it's acting under orders. They requested that it be taken down. You can say that pressure would be unacceptable coming from Trump as president. That's fine. But again, you don't care about that. And to the extent that you just care that a social media company is trying to influence the result of an election, do I need to remind you that Elon Musk told Twitter users to vote Republican before the midterms and has already announced that he's supporting Ron DeSantis as president? So which is it? Do you actually, can you imagine if Twitter did that before Elon Musk took control of it? Literally tweeted out from @Twitter, y'all should vote Democratic in 2018. Can you imagine what they would say? Anyway.
Okay,
it's really fast, because we got a lot we gotta get to.
All right, go for it. I just like,
okay.
Ron DeSantis, Elon Musk likes Ron DeSantis not because he's anti-woke, but because he's pro-corporation, and he will, not regulate any company. That's the answer.
Okay, really fast. What does the right think about this? Well, we'll see what regular people think. I saw a lot of comments to Elon Musk thinking that he was doing God's work or something. These people literally could not be more pathetic at a cellular level. But anyway, let's jump into what some of the right-wing journalists who've been following the Hunter Biden story for the last 75 years have to say about it. Starting with this.
You were at the very center of this story. What do you make of it?
Look, I think we've seen quite a bit that's useful. It's not really the smoking gun we'd hoped for. I feel that Elon Musk has held back some material.
There's a bit of an oops and then a bunch of copium. It's not a smoking gun. They got their own billionaire to jump into it and give him all the files. They handed to Matt Taibbi and under God knows what restrictions about what he can talk about and not. And he tried to present everything through a lens that would be most damning to them, and it's oops, not a smoking gun. But we think he's holding something back. There's always another layer to the conspiracy. The right-wing billionaire, he's the one who won't let it come out, or someday it'll come out and then Trump will be president again or something. There's always some extra level of cope. They didn't get what they wanted because there isn't anything there to be gotten. And so now they just kick the can down the road a little bit more, and someday Mike Lindell will find the damning Hunter Biden stuff in a pillow or something. I don't know. What do you think, Brett?
And even still, like the thing that they'll declare as a smoking gun is going to be will eventually be less direct than I want you to do me a favor though, or whatever the quid pro quo in the Trump transcript was. It won't be as direct as that. It won't be as direct as I'm going to withhold military assistance. Yeah. It's going to be like, hey, it's my son's penis. Can we please spare the internet of that?
100%.
Otherwise, everything would have come out already. And then Tucker is essentially like doing the calculus of like, if I say that Elon Musk withheld information from the population, I then have to be super sure that I'm coming correct and that I'm not going to alienate the Elon Musk supporters who will stay with him and not come with me on this.
Yeah, 100%. Well, the fact that the Twitter Hunter Biden expose didn't result in anything that even the right can spin as damning doesn't mean that they're going to stop looking into this. They're going to use this as an excuse to look more. Representative Comer in Republican leadership says he wants Twitter employees to talk to Congress about the Biden laptop story. So again, they love free enterprise and capitalism, and they want the employees and mostly former employees now, since everybody's been fired, of a private company that took a private citizen's request to not have revenge porn be published on their platform to testify before Congress. What, like the mod team, the safety team? How many employees are you talking about? God only knows, because he didn't think about it. And I will say that while they didn't get the smoking gun that they wanted, some will just be willing to run with it. You have a former congressional candidate, Shukri Abdirahman, who tweeted out, "We can no longer get rid of tyranny by the ballots. It's only by bullets now." And you know that that's serious because I see the blue check next to their name. I don't know, maybe it's just Twitter blue. You can't tell anymore, thanks Elon. But anyway, Joe Biden's team requested that they not publish these nude photos. And so voting is pointless, democracy is dead, begin shooting your political opponents. That's what a former Republican congressional candidate is taking out of this. And eventually, it took a while, but eventually that tweet was taken down. Is Musk not merciful?
And should, by his own logic, suspend the account. Because he said that if he's suspending people, he said with the Kanye thing, he's suspending because it's a call to violence. That's pretty directly a call to violence. That person should be suspended. And if not, he's committing the same crimes that people on the right say that Jack committed by not being consistent in their reasoning for suspensions.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, by the way, we couldn't go to all of the Miranda Devine, but she eventually gets very defensive over Jack. because they have to hate Twitter, but not the guy who ran it or whatever. And they said that he wasn't involved, which doesn't somehow make this less of a story for them. But then also, I hate even acknowledging the individual emails here. They talk about emails saying like, what do we do going forward? What exactly is our policy on this, all this? And the presence of those emails to these people, including to Matt Taibbi, is damning evidence that they were systematically trying to hurt the right wing and benefit the centrists. When the fact that those emails were going around is evidence, I would say proof, that they did not have a biased policy because they literally had to ask. If you'd been told, do whatever Biden wants, hurt the Republicans however you want, you wouldn't be responding to individual requests like, what's our policy gonna be going forward? And what should we do in this case? They clearly didn't know because they hadn't been directed to do something to benefit Biden or whatever. It's just all so stupid.
I would say it's a 60-40 breakdown that Silicon Valley employees at that level in those jobs are 60% neoliberal and 40% libertarian right-wing psychopaths. And so it's not this like 90-10 situation that they'll have you think. And also, so there are I'm certain that the people who work at Twitter liked Biden more than they liked Trump, but I'm also certain, I don't forget, you did the wave thing. I forgot what I was gonna say.
I apologize, I wanted you to finish, but that was a good point. I agree that they probably did.
Oh, this is the point, this is the point. The point is, I am certain that every time a right winger is saying that they have trouble getting the word out for their side, they're absolutely lying because they're backed by billions and billions of dollars of people who are trying to start a culture war so they can get tax breaks.
Yep, 100%. I'm glad you remembered your point. Okay, we're gonna take a break. We come back, lots more news to get to, so don't go anywhere. Anyway, we've got much more serious stuff to talk about. Let's start with this.
Reclaim America! Reclaim America! Reclaim America! Reclaim America!
White supremacists, outright Nazis, Proud Boys, militia members who are treading that line of just being brave enough to be willing to potentially kill those they disagree with, but cowardly enough that they want to hide their identity while doing it. In this particular case, they were protesting the Holly Drag story time at the First Unitarian Church of Columbus. There you could see a whole bunch of them out there trying to both pressure and threaten people who are just trying to live their lives. We have a little bit more to make clear, if it wasn't clear from that, what their ideological leanings are. Take a look at this. So you can see the actual Nazi salutes being done there. They seem like just the best guys. Of course, groomer flag, this sort of culture war is made to get guys like that fired up to potentially anonymously kill someone. So that's fun. The event eventually was canceled because they were terrified that one of those guys would do what inevitably one of those guys is going to do. And so there were more than 50 of them, by the way. There were a bunch of people who were providing security, a sort of human chain, or were going to, and just it's too much of a threat. It's far too threatening, and so they had to cancel what could have been a perfectly lovely event. Brett, what do you think?
I think I'm glad we're back to the like cartoonish Nazi face. Like I don't like that they have guns and they're walking around. So on the one hand, you're at a decision point where you're like, do I vilify or do I make fun of? I gotta make fun of these guys because at least the old Nazis had cool uniforms. These guys are like, which color Duluth Trading Company shirt you gonna wear out today? Oh, am I gonna go flannel or zip up hoodie? Like they're having these conversations. I also love anytime Nazis have like a big sign, because I like to figure out like how many of them they got wrong because they didn't plan ahead for the space. Groomers looks real squirched in there.
Yeah, they didn't plan ahead.
They have to go to Aaron Brothers Art Mart and like pick out stencils or like spray paint. On the other hand, they are threatening, like they think that it is bad for children to be around people that look like girls, but it's better for children to be menaced with assault rifles outside a bookstore their parents are taking them to because they want to learn about reading.
Yeah. Well, in this case, it was literally at a church that it was going to happen. Yes, people reading books, bad, scary, dangerous, need to be stopped. Guys wearing skull masks so that they can get a group of people to believe that they might die if they don't cancel an event. Those are the good people. Reclaim America. Again, not one of those guys did anything to build the America they supposedly want to reclaim. But in the absence of achievements in your own life, why not hearken back to imagined achievements of generations that came before, while duplicating some of those generations' darkest moments? Anyway, with that said, we're gonna move to one other topic. Michael Shore has been out on his beat. Let's take a look at what he was able to find in the run up to the Georgia runoff.
Herschel has said, he said in a book that he has multiple personality disorder, but he's beaten it, he's cured it. Doctors say that there's no cure to that. I'm talking about voting for somebody, sending them to Washington to be a senator with that malady. Does that give you pause at all?
No, not at all, not at all.
I've seen Herschel play twice, play Georgia Tech 2 years in a row, and anybody that don't vote for Herschel should never be allowed to say, "Go Dogs," ever again.
I've heard him speak several times. He's an incredible person.
Going back to that multiple personality thing, that's something that we don't run across. I've covered lots of races. We don't run across someone about to get to the state house or the Senate or Congress or the mayor's office who has that affliction and unfortunately has it. Is there any pause that you go into that voting booth?
Because in the end, it's the voters who will decide. And we need people that has worked a job like we've worked. We've gone to college, and have done all this work that a lot of like Joe Biden, I don't think he's ever worked like a normal job. Has he? Say so?
Been a politician.
Just he's
a lawyer and a politician.
He's just been, yeah.
Yeah, Biden has far fewer credits to his name. Herschel Walker's got a long list on his resume. I mean, they exist only in his mind. He made them up and lied to the voters, but they are there and they look good. What about Raphael Warnock? I feel like he's worked a day in his life, but they don't care about that. They're focused on the fact that they don't have to apologize for anything he's done because the voters are gonna decide, which you could use as a response to literally any question about an election. It means nothing in this context. And what you should be thinking about is staying true to the feelings you once had watching him play college football. Because if you don't support the guy who's lied about basically everything in his past and has threatened multiple people with death and has apparently actually beaten many people, then you are not a good fan, Brett? I'm not really into college football. Maybe there's something I'm missing here.
There is nothing you're missing. Would you vote for OJ because he broke some tackles? Is that
the voters are gonna decide?
Like, I feel like we already have a means by which to decide if someone is good at being in an elected office, and it's like the campaign process. Football is just to determine who's better at football.
Generally, yeah.
Like overcoming metaphorical adversity is different from like literal adversity. Those two aren't the same thing. And I think they just need to come out and be honest with it. Like, they don't care about him.
They don't.
And they just want the rich ones that went to college, they want their tax breaks, and that's it.
That's it. And by the way,
does he get multiple votes in Senate for his multiple personalities? Is that why they're doing it? Because they're gonna be down one?
Also, to be clear, in recent interviews, he has appeared to think that he is running in the House. It has been fairly clear from things that he says that he thinks the future of the House will be up to him, which the Republicans have already won. By the way, as I've always said, having multiple personality disorder or any sort of mental health issues is not anything that should stop you from running. The issue with Herschel Walker is not that he has this, it's that he falsely believes that it has been cured and you need to shut up about it, and he can do or nearly do, when it comes to attempted murder, anything he wants, and you shouldn't be worried about that. That's a concern, not the condition, which no one should be stigmatized for. In any event, that is all the time we have for our first hour. There's way more show to come in the aftermath, though. Thank you to everyone who's been watching. We'll be back with more in just a sec.
Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Damage Report. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, John Adarola. I'll see you soon.